Now, friends, what I simply want to talk to you about this morning, and this has been on my heart now for several weeks, and I've really preached last week's sermon to prepare us for this morning. And I got to be honest with you, there's been it seems like a lot of spiritual warfare in my own heart and mind preparing for this day, for this message, for what I believe God is wanting to say to you and I this morning in this text. And that is this: there are many, many people that are going the way of Cain. There are many people going the way of Cain. Cain is famous for what he did, infamous for what he did. Everybody knows his name. It's almost like the name Judas. People know who Cain, and they know what he did. And we feel like he is one of the worst men that ever lived. But in reality, many people are going the way of Cain. You know, I'm a huge college football fan. That's what I keep up with, as most of you know. And I've been following this issue of Johnny Manziel, the recent Heisman winner. And if you don't know who that is, this may make no sense to you. But Johnny Manziel is just a young 20-year-old. He was a freshman when he won the Heisman. And he has not been able to handle that celebrity status that has come upon him at all. And basically, out of his mouth, he says, I don't care. I don't care. I don't want to be responsible for anything or anyone. I'm just a kid, and I want to live life my way and do all these things that I'm doing. And I want you to know, when I hear that, that is the way of Cain. That is the same mindset. And you see it all throughout pop culture. Rihanna is one of these pop singers. Rihanna comes out, and she's on her social media, and she says, don't call me a role model. Don't call me a mentor. I don't want people to look up to me. I want to live my life the way I want to live it. It's all over the place. People are living this way. I deal with absentee dads that are walking away from the responsibility of their home, their children, their marriages. In the reality, this is the way of Cain. This is the way Cain thought. This is the way Cain felt. He wanted no responsibility. Responsibility for nothing. And you know, I even talk to teenagers, and I'm going to pick on our youth that are over here this morning. I love seeing them over here taking over this side of the building this morning. It's great. But you know what? Our youth group's no different from other youth groups in the world. I mean, young people are coming in. You're here. Most of you are here because your parents come. Some of you are here because you want to be here, and you would be here regardless. But a lot of times, teenagers come to church because they're forced to come. And a lot of times they grow up in church and they've heard the gospel, and at some point in their life they've decided to become a Christian. They've, quote unquote, given their life to the Lord and been baptized. But you start wondering, is it real? Is this really what they want? Even in a youth group, and you guys probably could affirm what I'm telling you, is there's some people that come into youth groups, some teenagers, and the way they live, the way they act, the way they talk, the filthy language that comes out of their mouth, the way they're living their life, you see it and you know that it's not consistent with Christianity. And what bothers you the most is not so much that they're doing that, but how it's harming your youth group, how it's harming your friends, how it's harming that new class of youth that are coming in, the freshmen, those younger kids that are coming, and they're excited. They've been waiting to get in the youth group for years, and now they're in, and they're thinking, man, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to get to serve God separately from my family. I'm going to get to join a group, and we're going to be worshiping God. And then the first thing that happens is they hear all this stuff behind the scenes, and it totally just destroys all of the anticipation and expectation they had for entering the youth group. Do you know what I'm talking about? Can you affirm that? This is the way of Cain. When people don't care about anybody else, they don't take responsibility for their actions. They don't want to be responsible for any. They just want to live life their way, get the most, just have fun and experience everything they can. You know, and another way that we see this these days is social media. It seems like, even among Christians, and I'm talking to the Christians this morning. I'm talking to you, the church, believers like you and I. And we so oftentimes you see Christians that use social media in such a way as to celebrate sin. It's a way that it's like somewhere in their life they're going through this time, they're going through this season. If it had happened 20 years ago, most of us wouldn't have known about it. All right, my pastor would have called it backsliding. Well, we hadn't seen you in a while. You ever heard that word, backsliding? Man, we hadn't seen you in a while, and we figure you've been out there living in the world, but we're glad you're back and you're repenting. But it doesn't happen that way anymore. When people backslide, they post it on Facebook. You know what I'm saying? We all know about it. They tweet about it. There's Instagram, and it's like they get this rush and this release, and they want to put it out there that, listen, I'm living life and I'm enjoying it and I'm doing what I want. But here's the problem: when they post it, they're saying, I don't care what this does to you. Or maybe they don't even think about it, what it's doing to others. They brag on their rebellion, they flaunt their follies. Here's what I'm saying: they take no responsibility for the Abels in their life. This is happening all over. Parents are this way with their children. You have a lot of Abels living in your home, right? My little daughter, we were at the beach this past week over in Oceanside, and she came up to me after a while, and I said, hey, well, how come you're not out there in the water? And she said, Dad, I had to just get out. Now, my daughter's only 9 years old, is that right? Got to keep up with these kids, almost 9. And so, growing so fast, she comes to me and she says, I just had to get out. And I said, what's the problem, honey? She said, Dad, all these kids are out there and they won't stop cursing, using the F word and other types of things. And I said, how old are they? She said, they're my age. And I just can't, and to her, this is like radical to her. This caught her off guard. And she wanted to talk about it. She was saying to me, as an 8-year-old little girl, I don't understand why they're talking that way. And I said, what do you mean? I mean, apparently they hear this in their home. They hear it from their parents. They hear it from media that they're being allowed to watch. And she said, yeah. She said, they're not even cussing at one another or mad at one another. This is just the way they're talking normal. And I thought to myself, there used to be a day when curse words were used for cursing. But not anymore. Not anymore. People have gone so far the way of Cain and have not thought about how it's impacting the generations behind them, our brothers and sisters, kids that are coming up, that this world has really, really gone the way of Cain. And that's what happened in this guy's life. And listen, this thing's for real. And after Cain did what he did, there's only so many generations left before God has to come in with a judgment of flood and wash away all of this stuff off the earth and only save Noah and his family. And so this stuff matters. It does have an impact on others beyond the Cains themselves. Here's the bottom line. If we're not our brother's keeper, we're our brother's murderer. That's what the Bible teaches. This is the way it says it. We are either life givers or life takers. We are either blessings or curses. We are either evangelists or we're standing in the way of people knowing the gospel and knowing God. We are either being fruitful and are multiplying, or we are spiritually dead and are subtracting the glory of God from this world. I'm telling you this morning, God is going to hold us responsible for others. Not just for ourselves. God is going to hold us responsible for how our life, how our words, and how our actions impact others. By the way, to kill a man, you don't have to stab him with a knife. You don't have to shoot him with a gun. You could simply stop taking responsibility for him. You could stop sharing Christ with him. You can stop giving him truth. When you're supposed to speak up, you can remain sinfully silent. When you're supposed to tell him about Christ, you can just say, no, it's not my problem. It's not my issue. It's not me. Besides, I'm not my brother's keeper. Maybe Abel even had it in his mind. Listen, you're God. You're sovereign. Maybe you ought to take care of Abel. God says that's not the way it works. And so we live our lives to ourselves. And there's this desire in us to do it our way, not God's way. And now we're having the ability to impact people worldwide with this attitude because of social media. I want to talk to you a little bit more about social media. I want to give you a little wisdom about it. In fact, there's a verse of Scripture you ought to keep in mind when it comes to social media. Hebrews 10:24 says, stir up one another to love and good works. Stir up one another to love and good works. You see, the improper way to use it, and most of y'all know I like social media. I think it's a great tool. I think it's a blessing from God. Anytime we've got anything in our possession that gives us access to the entire world, I see it as a God thing. Amen? I see it as another great way to get the gospel worldwide and fulfill the Great Commission. But I tell you, you can use it in a Cainish way. A Cainish way. A way that is all about promoting self. If you read somebody's Facebook and their Twitter and it's all about self. It's all about promoting self. It's all about their personal opinions. Or shall we call it rants a lot of times. Just going on and just putting all of this stuff out. Not declaring it as truth, just declaring it as opinion. It's not going to hurt anybody. It's just my opinion. Friend, God's not called us to share with the world our opinions. Amen? He's called us to share with the world the truth of His Word. Here's my aim in social media. My aim is to post things in such a way that a person can quickly click in and click out, and when they do so, it gives them the maximum benefit for their soul. That's what I'm looking for. To give people the maximum benefit for their soul. To in that moment, maybe it's only so many characters that I'm allowed to put on the internet, maybe it's so many words, maybe it's just a split second, but can I be responsible for what it does to someone else? Maybe an action that it encourages. Maybe it stirs up someone to love and do good works. I don't want to ask things of people. I want to serve people. I want to give them Christ. Now, that doesn't mean that everything you post has to be a scripture verse. Everything you post has to be quoting something from the Bible or some hymn. Not saying that. I actually think that might be counterproductive. I think what's best is be yourself, but be the part of you that's been redeemed. Amen? Let your new life in Christ shine through. Talk about your life. Talk about your children. Talk about what's going on. But do it in such a way that promotes the gospel, promotes a Christian worldview. That's what God has called us to do. That's what He wants. And don't, by the way, ever use language that you wouldn't want your children to read or to use, by the way, because that's where they're picking this stuff up. Man, don't write stuff out there that you wouldn't want children in this church to read and believe and know about you. And whatever you do, don't celebrate sin. Man, don't do it. Don't put that stuff out there and say, well, listen, it's just me. I've got freedom. Are you hearing me this morning? Because this stuff hurts people. And it's against God. And this was the way of Cain. He didn't want to take responsibility. Our responsibility, each one of us, is to make Christ known.